Today on Let's Talk Bitcoin, we're joined by Jeremy Lamb. Jeremy, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Adam. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So, Jeremy, you're working on an open source project called Vend. Can you tell me what that's about?
For lack of a better way of saying it, is a really simple digital vending machine based upon Counterparty. In essence, what it allows you to do is set up a little blockchain application, a little digital vending machine that accepts payments, and that payment, you'd say, would be usually in Bitcoins, and it will automatically send back the Counterparty asset in question.
In practice, what type of applications would this be useful for?
For something that's that simple, there's actually quite a lot of applications when you uncover it from the surface. In the most simplest form, you can actually create, as I mentioned before, a vending machine, and that vending machine can be used as a means of making your IPO. So, for example, you can load up a vending machine with the shares for your IPO, and you can get people to send Bitcoins to that vending machine, and they'll automatically receive their shares without any fuss whatsoever.
And so the advantage of using something like this then is that it doesn't require you to go through a market. It's more just like someone set this up as like a web page, and then they can, there's an address there. They send Bitcoins to that address. Now it sends back to the address that sent it, right?
That's right. So for the user or for the investor, it's a really, really simple process. There's a single address that you can advertise on your web page, and everyone can just go ahead and send their funds to that web page and get back their asset.
What's a more complicated use or a more interesting use of this besides the kind of basic crowdfunding vending machine approach? Because that's what it is, right? It's like a crowdfunding vending machine.
Yes, that's right. So when you have a look at some more complicated cases, you can actually think about this vending machine working in a two-way direction. So what we're talking about with a vending machine is you send, say, Bitcoins in, and then you get the counterparty asset out. If you were then to allow a reverse direction to send the counterparty asset into it and then go back to Bitcoin, then you've got something a little bit more interesting. So the other thing that's also worth mentioning is that Vend is compatible with any Bitcoin API altcoin. So, for example, the API between Litecoin, Dogecoin, and quite a lot of the other altcoins is essentially the same as Bitcoin, which means that Vend is also compatible with altcoins as well. So taking that to what I mentioned about a two-way vending machine, you can actually set up Vend as a exchange or gateway to bridge between counterparty and a altcoin of your choice.
So one of the things that I'm trying to figure out here is how does each vending machine get its price? I mean, is this just like a hard number that's set at the beginning? Are these trading automatically on a decentralized exchange? Is like the person running each installation just like taking on that risk and reward themselves?
That is up to the owner of the machine itself. So yes, it depends on how you want to use the vending machine. So if it's in a crowdfunding or an IPO style, if it's in that kind of mode, then yes, they could set up a fixed price for the asset, or they can actually use a formula of some kind that could be time-based. It could be based upon other factors as well. So it's possible for the person, of course this requires customization, to actually bring down live quotes from other exchanges and actually base their price on that. You could create a vending machine with a floating price as well. In fact, it's also possible if someone would like to take a vending machine and then back that out onto a centralized exchange as well, to actually create a Forex, an automatic Forex machine that pulls, lack of a better word, asset in question from the centralized exchange and on-sells it into the vending machine.
Can you explain that for me again?
Yeah, so what a operator could do is create a vending machine on Counterparty with Vend such that it backs onto a centralized exchange. So the vending machine could advertise a fixed price of some kind or a moving price that could be broadcast on the Counterparty platform. And off the back of that, it could actually tap into a centralized exchange and automatically buy and sell the equivalent real life, for lack of a better word, asset, and then sell that into the Counterparty equivalent.
So essentially what you've created here then is an automatic interface that allows you to have on one side of it Bitcoin or counterparty transaction and on the other side of it something. And right now, that's some kind of cryptocurrency, generally speaking. But in the future, it's going to be kind of all kinds of weird things.
That's right. It's completely open to your imagination there. So it could actually back out onto any kind of real life asset, as long as you have the means of being able to digitally represent it in some way, and of course be able to represent it in some way that a buyer of that asset would be interested in picking up. It would be possible, of course, to say put a car on there or something, but you'd have to have some kind of means of actually representing that car digitally and also proving that you have that car digitally to trade.
I've been looking at a lot of projects that kind of revolve around using auctions as pricing mechanisms, because sometimes you don't know what you should be charging for something, and the market is interesting in that it can tell you what a good price is. Could this type of interface be modified to provide that sort of thing? I mean, would that be a complete reinvention of it, or would that be a relatively small change?
It would be quite a large change, but the basic operation of Vend would allow you to do such a thing. So at its core in the technology, it's very simple. It just looks at the blockchains in question one by one as each block comes across. As it comes across, it parses it. It understands what's been sent or received or the action that's occurred on the blockchain. And then it persists that state into a database. Then it uses some logic, the vending machine operator, to decide what it does. So it would be possible to take inputs into the vending machine from various sources and actually, for lack of a better word, collate it together to create an auction-style contract or auction-style functionality that the vending machine can actually provide in the end.
Sounds like I'll have to look into that. So now, where do these actually live? If I wanted to run a vending machine, would I be running this on a server? I mean, is this a decentralized service or is it not?
It's a centralized service. So it's quite important to point that out. You would either have to run it on your own servers or have someone host it for you if it was simpler that way. It is centralized, but at the same time, I've designed Vend to be a example of how a centralized exchange or centralized application should be run. So it's completely transparent, it's open source, and what's really excellent about it in this respect is if someone would like to go and audit your vending machine, they could download Vend from the website. If you were to provide people with the parameters of your vending machine, they can run the vending machine and actually check to see that the outputs of your machine matches what they can receive when they run the vending machine in a read-only fashion, for example. So it's really created as an example how we can create a centralized application, but in the most transparent way possible.
This is a centralized application in that there's a server that it runs on or several servers that it runs on. You're creating this technology, but it's not centralized on you. This is something, I mean, like, can you talk to me a little bit about the business that you're creating? Is there a business here? Are you just creating this and donating it to the environment, or is there a plan here? What are you doing?
Of course, yes. So it is decentralized in the point that if you create a vending machine, it's got nothing to do with myself if you don't want it to. There is services I can obviously lend if people were interested in creating a vending machine. That is, if you wish to create a vending machine which is customized, has some very interesting interfaces. So I've got quite a lot of experience, of course, in interfacing in various systems, back-end systems. That's one of the things that I've worked on in the past. What I see is that there's going to be a multitude of uses for a vending machine, and some people would like that to be turnkey. And that can be provided as a service and highly customized. Fundraising, for example, there's a lot of ideas that you can implement in a vending machine for fundraising, and that requires quite a lot of customization. The source code is completely available. It will be completely free for everyone, the basic vending machine. And of course, if companies or people have the resources to customize it themselves, they definitely can. Otherwise, they could always reach out to ourselves and we'd be happy to help out in that respect.
I like your style.
It's a really simple application. it's rather obvious, and maybe that's what makes it so delightful, that something so simple can actually give rise to quite complex behavior or quite desirable behavior at the same time.
Well, so before we let you go, we have a lot of entrepreneurs and, kind of opportunistic people in our audience. So I think that, what you're talking about here, this seems to me like it's an opportunity for people who are looking for a way to get involved. Like if you want to run, talk to me about that. Do you think that we'll have people who make businesses based around running these vending machines? And what's the burden here?
I would hope that there's a market there for these vending machines, because what we need is services, and services is what's most important to the customer in the end. So we've got all these really awesome tools that are coming up, but these require either end user knowledge or it requires knowledge of the actual platform itself. And what I think is the next step is to actually have these tools which make it as simple as possible for the user to get into. And by that, it just means that they should only need to know how to operate a wallet, and they can actually get involved in these 2.0 services and these platforms. And so I hope that there will be a market for these vending machines. The cost or the operational cost of these vending machines is actually quite low. There is a requirement, of course, to have the blockchains in sync. So for that, I would recommend that the operators of vending machines run a full node, and that would be actually good for the Bitcoin network as well. Apart from that, it's just the actual operational cost of the vending machine itself, which is actually really low. It's a very small application. The amount of knowledge required to maintain it, if you had created these things before, is not that much.
So if people would like to get involved or learn more, how should they do that? And how do you spell Vend? I thought that it was V-E-N-D, but I think there are two Ds maybe?
There's two N's, so that's a little yes, it's a little bit tricky. So VEND. We will be launching the public GitHub repository in the next coming weeks. You can find more information at vend.io, and as things progress, we'll be releasing information to that page.
Jeremy Lamb, thank you very much for your time. This is a very exciting project. We look forward to your progress.
Thanks, Adam.
CryptoKit is the world's first Chrome browser Bitcoin wallet. It's the easiest, fastest Bitcoin wallet payment system. With a simple one-click install, it takes just seconds to get your wallet set up. And because CryptoKit finds the address and payment for you, there's no more fussing around or tab switching. CryptoKit is more than just a wallet. It comes with a preloaded PGP encrypted social network, news feeds from Reddit and Google, and up-to-date charts from exchanges. Finally, CryptoKit Directory allows you to make two-click payments with any of the BitPay merchants. Once you install CryptoKit, you won't need anything else. For more information or to download CryptoKit, visit CryptoKit.com.